Imagine all your audio entertainment available in just one place. That's what the Audible app is all about. With Audible, you can always find the best of what you love or discover something new. Audible has an incredible selection of wellness titles and originals, like The Light Podcast by Michelle Obama, Work It Out by Mel Robbins, and Confidence Gap by Russ Harris. Membership includes access to Audible originals, podcasts, and tons of audiobooks that you can download or stream as much as you want. And as an Audible member, you can choose one title per month from an ever-growing catalog of titles to keep. The Audible app makes it easy to listen anytime, anywhere, whether you're traveling, working out, doing chores, wherever your day takes you. New members can try Audible now free for 30 days. Visit audible.com/motivation or text motivation to 500-500. That's audible.com/motivation or text motivation to 500-500 to try Audible free for 30 days.
The weather is cooling down a bit. The leaves are starting to fall. Yes, it's that time of year again. Football season. And we all know the best part of any game day traditions are the ones that involve food. There's nothing like having everyone in your game day crew coming together to bring their best bites and argue over whose family makes the best chili. And while there's no need to mess with the perfection of game day classics, like a freshly grilled Oscar Mayer hot dog topped with Heinz ketchup and mustard, it's always fun to step out of your comfort zone and get creative with your recipes. Because there's nothing more fun than adding to your list of game day traditions, like making a creamy and delectable queso dip with Velveeta cheese that can be eaten with so much more than just chips. Now is the chance for people across the nation to find out whose game day eats reign supreme. It's your turn to show off your tasty game day food traditions. Go to www.gamedayfoodtraditions.com to share a photo of your game day food tradition to enter to win $10,000. Once again, that's www.gamedayfoodtraditions.com to enter to win $10,000.
This is Full Change with Tom Laidlaw.
Wow. All right. Yeah. This is, again, this is the best time of the year, but you and I both should not go into the prognostication business.
Who would have thought that the 4 teams that are there are left, right?
We were bad on all of our
Dallas and Vegas over in the West, and you got Florida and Carolina. Those are the 4 teams, but who's going to get fired now because they did go? Toronto's, something's got to happen.
Toronto's, yeah, that's a big mess. That team's been together for a long time. They finally made the second round, and then they
I know Kyle Dubas, from what I heard, is just a really intelligent man, really of the analytics and everything, but I just question whether he knows how to put a team together, like a real true team, right, that can win. So.
But I mean, you're a Toronto guy, and yeah. I don't, that's now it's longer than the Rangers drought.
Yeah, but you know what? I almost wonder that it's gone on for so long. It's like, well, that's just the Leafs. Almost.
Well, it was just the Rangers when you were playing there, too, right?
I know, true. Yeah, that's another story, right? The Rangers getting out, be out the way they did, and Jerk Long getting fired. So.
Oh, yeah, that's right. We hadn't talked about that since. Yeah, they mutually parted ways, but he got fired.
I'd really love to, we've speculated, to just bringing in Tarasenko and Kane, did that upset the apple cart a little bit? But they're professional players. Like, it's just, you feel, the thing for me is they showed, especially last year in the playoffs, what a competitive group of players they were. Like, to fight back games, series to fight back. Lindgren coming back and playing when he was hurt. Shesterkin didn't start off great, but then he came back and played great. So to play the way they did, and guys that I really like too, like Kreider just seemed like sometimes, it wasn't all the time too. Some games they had it.
Zibanejad, where was he? Fox had a terrible game 7. These guys played great last year, like you said, and Panarin was a ghost. But yeah, even the kids didn't do much. I mean, you were just with Keandre Miller at an event at the Garden. What's the deal with him? He's up for a contract soon. What are they going to do there? What do you think?
Wow. To me, again, he's only played 5 years of defense. I didn't know that till this year. I can't remember where I heard that someplace. But his future is unbelievable. He's a big guy that can skate. He's got skill. So they got to stick with him. And, again, a big player like that, that's just getting used to playing defense. Like for me, I started playing defense when I was like 6 or 7 years old. Didn't play in the NHL till I was 21, 22. That's a lot of years of learning. Because at the end, it's learning. So playing defense in the NHL, you can't overthink the game. It's like you have to know by instinct what's the score of the game, what's the ice conditions, who am I out here with, who am I out there against, and then all that stuff has to be done in a split second to make a decision. So you haven't played that long. It takes you a long. He's a great athlete,
great size, and like you said, he's so skilled. And he's shown you so many flashes. I mean, he made a lot of mistakes, but as any young defenseman is gonna. But he's shown so many flashes. You're like, this guy's gonna be legit.
Yeah.
Now at Lafreniere, different story though.
Man, that's a tough one to not have didn't have a goal in the 7-game series. especially when you look over in New Jersey and Heischer and Hughes are playing so great.
Right.
And then the young kids who I thought Hedel had a fantastic regular season, but even during the playoffs, it just wasn't there for them.
No.
And that's going to be the thing, because in the past, when you look at the Rangers, you're saying, okay, not only can they be good now, but they're going to be good for a long time with all those good young players. Now, again, it's one playoff series. The regular season was a good regular season, but now it's like, okay, these guys really need to get it going.
But I think there's a lot of arguments both ways with him. And I think with him and Kakko both, even Hedel, a lot of the argument is that they don't get a lot of minutes. They do, but they don't get a lot of power play time. And as you know, you're not a scorer, obviously, but scorers get their confidence on the power play. And if they're getting seconds here and there, they're never going to get that confidence.
And that's the thing. When they made the trade for Tarasenko and Kane, now you got 6 guys with Trocheck, and so Zibanejad, and Panarin, and Kreider. So you got 6 guys that are going to be above those young kids on the power play. But again, you have to go make those trades, especially with Kane, when he was so public that he wanted to come to the Rangers. I mean, Chris Drury was left no choice. He had to go get him.
And they really didn't give up that much for him.
Yeah. Totally.
But you didn't get superstar Patrick Kane. You got battle damaged Patrick Kane.
And the problem with that is, again, it's not Drury's fault, it's not Gallant's fault, but Kane, now you have to play him.
Yep.
So now he's taking up a spot that maybe Hedel could be taking, or somebody else.
Sure.
So it's
going to be a fun summer in Rangerland.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens next year, right? I mean, it looks like Kane will not be coming back. Tarasenko possibly.
I don't know.
Because again, you do have to look and say, listen, if we, like you mentioned with the ice time for the young kids, they have to play if you're going to get them to the level, or else you wasted a first overall pick in the draft or a second overall.
First and second. They got to play. We'll see what happens. And then, scary thing that's coming out lately is that the Devils are looking into acquiring Connor Hellebuck from Winnipeg.
Oh, I didn't hear that.
That would be.
Oh, you're the scoop man.
Yes, the scoop man. But no, that's a big. I mean, if they
super duper.
What is that? Booper scooper.
Super duper.
Listen, if they get Connor Hellebuck, that changes that team, because he's a phenomenal goalie, former Vezina winner.
That's the Vancouver goaltender.
Or Winnipeg.
He changed.
Sometimes he gets. He plays for both.
Why would Winnipeg be trading him?
I think his contract's up, or it's coming to an end. But yeah, if Hellebuck moves to the Devils, that's huge. And then now you're looking at a team who could possibly be the front runner in the division for the next few years.
Well, now, you look at this conference, Eastern Conference, how to with Boston, Carolina, Florida playing the way they're playing now. Can they continue that? So, so for the Rangers, I mean, listen, I still have a ton of confidence in this team. It's just that they really need to. And again, I was a huge fan of Jared Gallant, but apparently, Chris Drury makes a move that was. There's all the rumors about them having.
Yeah, big shouting match after Game 4. I mean, the Rangers laid a couple of eggs in the playoffs, and that should not happen. So something's up there. But let's go after it. Let's see if we can finally get something right. Florida, Carolina. Who do you got?
Florida's that team. Like, I remember Vegas in their first year, they kept winning all the time. I kept saying they can't keep winning. They're not going to go to the finals. Then they kept winning and went to the finals. So maybe Florida's that team this year. So I like Carolina so much. They just like Rod Brind'Amour.
Hey, there you go.
I won't change it this time. I just love the way he coaches. He gets so much out of his team. They play the way he played. Man, just you see a team like Florida on a roll. I'm going to go to Carolina.
Okay. I'll go against you. I have family in Carolina. I go there all the time. I think Florida's going to win this. Whatever happens, it's great for hockey in the South and for the growth of the game, which is already kind of exploding, but this should jack it up.
That's a good point about great for hockey in the South. I wonder how the NHL's feeling. So you don't have any Toronto teams, and you don't have a New York team, no Chicago, LA, anything like that. You've got like smaller market teams, which, I mean, in the past when Carolina has been in the playoffs and won the Stanley Cup, I mean, it's huge for that area. Yep. So it's, I'm sure the Rangers, the league has kind of mixed feelings.
Well, here's the juggle. What's better for TV and what's better for growth of the game? So growth of the game is these markets being in the finals, but growth of TV is obviously New York, LA, New York, Toronto, LA, or Montreal. Something traditional.
I'm sure like ESPN and the TNT are like,
because you could have Vegas versus Carolina in finals.
Yeah.
But all right, so I'm gonna take Florida. You're gonna take Carolina. Let's go to the West.
16 games, by the way. The West. So I'm the biggest Jack Eichel.
That's true.
Guy. But listen, I don't think he's played bad. He hasn't carried the team. But again, that is a good hockey team. Like Stone, I'm a big fan of there in Vegas.
Peter Angelo going and hacking people after at the end games.
Well, but that's.
Did you ever two-hand somebody like that, like openly, viciously?
I didn't. I had a few forearm shivers. It wasn't slashes. So we were playing in. Twice we did this. We were playing against the Kings, and Jimmy Carson, who I played with, was part of the trade that sent Wayne to L.A. and Carson up there. And we were losing in the series 3-1. And Timmy Waters and I were playing together, and we said, we got to change things. So I ran Jimmy Carson on the boards to give him the forearm shiver. I knocked him out cold, actually, too. And I played with a good kid, too. And It's just that you wanted to win.
All right. So what'd you do after that? You file him up? Did you get his number? Like what happened?
No.
You just went on with your life.
Yeah. Well, let's see where Bobby. Well, actually, Bobby Nicer, when he did it to me, he did call me up.
So yeah, and like Robert Picard, you waited 40 years before we got him on the podcast, which people will hear coming up.
Think about how much more special it was to have to wait the 40 years and then finally have me apologize.
Yeah, there you go.
Right? So it's like a simmer.
Life changing.
Yeah, I'm sure he's probably a lot different person now. Yeah.
All right, so Vegas, Dallas, what do you got?
People have told me right from day one how good Dallas was. I didn't really see how good they were, but obviously other people were right. I like Vegas, so I just question Vegas' goaltending, whether it's good enough. So I'm going to go with Dallas. I'm going to go Dallas to 16.
I'm going to also go Dallas. Dallas has a great goaltender.
Yeah.
Ottinger's great, and they got Jason Robertson. They're a solid team. They're well built.
Yep.
And I think they're going to take him.
To be good series. So that leaves us then with Dallas and Carolina in the finals, or Dallas
For you and I have Dallas, Florida.
Huh. That's interesting.
We'll come back and see how wrong we were. But as the less teams there are, the more chance we have of getting right. So
should we go back and do a show on the show where we made our predictions?
we can probably pull those up and we can show how bad we were. All right.
But I think that anybody that made any predictions wasn't going to be right. Nobody, I don't think anybody thought.
I did see a thing. You know how the NHL went to that bracket system now, which I think is kind of stupid rather than reshuffling. But they said out of the over 1 million brackets that were sent in, 14 got the final 4 teams.
Oh, that's right.
That's crazy.
That's good. But that's good for hockey too. It shows the parity. Everybody has a chance of really making it to the finals.
Yep.
And even during the regular season, there's a few teams obviously that fade away quickly. But a lot of cities had fan bases had a lot of.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's great for Vegas. It's great for the hockey in the South.
Yeah.
And you should, when the Devils won their cups, rinks started, popping up all over New Jersey, which was great for hockey in Jersey. But hopefully that'll happen in Carolina, Florida, Dallas.
Well, they definitely did. I remember when Wayne got to L.A., Wayne Gretzky got to L.A., and they had some success there. All of a sudden, there's rinks popping up all over. Yeah. Good stuff.
Awesome. All right. Well, now we'll get on to the show. We got a great guest today. People are going to love this one. All right, Tom, we have a slick defenseman coming up. We have a 2-time Stanley Cup champion. We have a guy who probably hung that -5 on you at the Dallas alumni game. We have Darryl Sydor.
Took my job, too, with the LA Kings. Came in like a young stud and took my job. I was way out the door. Darryl, how you doing, brother?
Good. How are you guys doing?
Very good. Very good. Good to see you again. That was a fun time at Dallas. That was a good event.
That was a blast, yeah. It was a quick weekend, but, you tried to get a lot in. It was a lot of fun to see some guys.
Hey, you look pretty good in the ice, too. You been skating a lot or no?
Oh, come on.
Oh, seriously?
My wife actually took some videos, and I'm like, why did you do that?
Yeah.
Mine,
Compared to the
body,
rest of us.
mine says go, but the body says no.
Oh, I turned around one time, I would go back for the puck, and I really thought I was moving my feet fast, and I came back to the bench, and Brian Mullins died laughing at me. He says, you really thought you were going pretty good there, didn't you? I said, yes, I did.
If your wife wouldn't mind sending us some of those videos, if you're wheeling around, Tom, we'd love those.
Maybe the goals. How's that?
We'll take them.
Well, I need to start off with something first. Usually we want to start, when you're young and learning to play hockey, national hockey. But I was really, I don't know, surprised is the right word. I really, we didn't play that long together, so I didn't know you that well. But I was really interested in the comments the other players that played with you talked about, how your competitiveness, your toughness mentally, and that seemed like that was the guys that played with you, that's what they came away with. That the leader you were, the competitiveness. Is that how you see yourself?
I guess maybe I'm a little bit humble, but yeah, I guess that's what I keep hearing. It's something I think that's been kind of embedded in me in probably where I needed to get to the National Hockey League level, and then here at Kamloops, playing my junior under Ken Hitchcock and Mr. Bob Brown. They really instilled that in us, is work ethic and leadership, and I think it just carried on.
So where'd you grow up? What's your hometown?
So I grew up in Edmonton, Alberta. Yeah, Edmonton, Alberta. Played all my minor hockey there until I was 16 and moved away to Kamloops.
Right.
Played my junior career, and then that's how it all got started on the cold outdoor rinks.
There you go. Were you a good player right away? Were you one of the best players when you started?
I don't believe so. I was always one that just had to kind of work hard to get what he wanted. I wasn't. My son's 19 now and plays in the Western Hockey League, and he's got skill. I don't believe I had that skill.
Right.
But kids are different nowadays.
In some ways, that's kind of an advantage, right? When you don't have the skill, because now you have to work harder. If you have a dream and a goal of playing in the NHL, you got to work harder because you don't have the skill, right?
Well, and then, let's go back to, I'm obviously older and you played before me, but I didn't work out until I got drafted at 18.
Yeah.
I did a little thing. My dad would make me run the stairs in the house. Well, there's only 10 of them.
Yeah.
So it was a lot different. And now it's a 12-month thing for these kids.
Yeah,
so
definitely is.
To be able to go to where I wanted to go, one guy back at Edmonton, Roy Stasiak, that's now a head scout with the Tri-City Americans of the Western Hockey League. He's kind of really the guy that took me under his wing to introduce me to working out, the gym, Club Fit. That was the gym back in the day.
Yeah.
And so that's how it kind of got started.
Yeah, definitely. So you moved away at 16. Some people say that sometimes, like it's not a big deal, but it's a big deal to move away from home at 16 years old, right? I mean, most of us were small towns, kind of shy a little bit. You move away at 15, 16 years old. Was that hard on you?
Yeah, it was. Now, at 16, leaving home was tough.
Yeah.
And I remember that. I remember my mom and dad dropped me off and then not seeing them, and they got to drive 8 hours to see me play.
Right.
In Kamloops, because there wasn't the Edmonton Oil Kings or those teams. It was branded.
Right.
It was Regina. It was Swift Current for them to come and see, or else come over here to Kamloops. So it was difficult. But nowadays, with all these hockey academies and stuff, kids are doing it at the age of 13.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
Remarkable to me.
Yeah, I agree. See, like people just see it happening and think, well, it's no big deal, but it is a big deal. Like you're 13 years old, you're moving away from your family. It's tough. I mean, you still have the dream of doing something, playing in the National Hockey League. That's what you have to do to accomplish that. But that's tough.
Yeah.
And Kamloops was a powerhouse at that point too, right? They had a real strong program there.
Yeah, we had a pretty good program. Mr. Brown and Hitch were here since I believe it was 86. I came in after the guys like Rob Brown and Greg Hoggood and Greg Aptuszewski and Dean Evison. So they had quality guys here and quality teams, and they just kept building. And back then you kind of built. You lost your older guys, but guys came in underneath you. First couple of years, went to a Memorial Cup, and then once we won it in '92, they went on to win 3 and 4 years, which I don't think will ever be broken again for an organization because of the turnover and how much you have to give up now for players.
Sure. Did you like Hitch as a coach?
Yeah, I mean, Hitch was Hitch. I loved him as a coach here. Well, I was young. I was 16. He'll always tell you the story, the opposite of me. But I was how I started playing hockey was I got listed with the Kamloops Blazers when I was 11 years old. And I couldn't play until I was 16.
Right.
But I was a forward, a D-man, because I went for my club team that I wanted to play with. You played with your communities, and then you tried to make a club team in the city. And my dad recognized that there wasn't as many D-men on the tryouts, so I tried out for a D-man and made it. So I played D, but every time I came to Kamloops, Hitch would put me on forward because he said I was too slow and would never play. Until my draft year, when we had some injuries on D, and they put me back on D because they knew I played it. And then the rest is it. I went on contracted as a D-man and play as a D-man. But Hitch was Hitch. He was a hard-nosed coach.
Right.
I didn't know any different, and he carried that on through his career.
Yeah.
Which I think it instilled work ethic in me and accountability.
That is the thing with Hitch. I mean, who he is who he is. It never changed, no matter what happened. I had some guys when I represented that played with him, and they didn't like him too much, and they let him know. But he did change. That's the way he was.
You're totally right. I remember sitting one time in Montreal and getting benched, and Hitch looked down to Rick Wilson, that was our D coach, and told him to sit me while I was mad, and sat for a little bit, went out, and then I ended up scoring a goal. And I come back to the bench, and Craig Ludwig goes, "Way to go! You just made him look like a genius." So he had his way. He had his way to get underneath you and, light the fire.
Rick Wilson, is that the same guy we had in L.A.? Rick Wilson, coaches?
Yeah,
big man. I liked him. He was a good man. Good coach.
Yeah, very, very good man. He's retired now and living in Dallas.
Oh, okay.
But he just retired a couple of years ago.
Yeah, he got out of the game and then came back for a while, right?
He did. Yeah. Yeah. He got out of the game for about a year maybe and then came back. So.
I remember him because he got through a back problem too, like I did. And I was so stubborn. I wasn't going to change anything. I thought, which is, I guess, as you know, that's how we make it because we won't change our, right? We just keep going. But then at the end of your career where I needed to change things, like my training and everything, he was great. He'd skate around with me before practice at Culver City and go, Tommy, I know what you're thinking. You got to change. You got to change. And if I had to listen to him now, I would have played longer, but that's the way we were.
Yeah.
But so what round were you after that?
First round.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
Nice. So you looked at the lineup and said, listen, I can take Laidlaw's job right away. Is that what happened?
Hey, you know what? My actually first camp was in Hull, Quebec.
Yeah.
And I actually got into a fight here in Blazer camp and broke my finger. One guy was picking on one of the Euros over here that he was living with me, and I didn't like it. So I got in a fight. I ended up breaking my finger, so I couldn't participate on the ice stuff. So,
right.
You know what? It was a young kid. You going into that locker room. Come on.
Yeah.
And we saw it, right? And it's just like you just try to not fit in, but just don't be too noticeable on the other end.
Even for me as a veteran player, we got Larry Robinson, Wayne Gretzky, Dave Taylor, all those guys, Jonathan Elliott, all those guys. That was a fun team to be on. Yeah, definitely. So you came into camp, you couldn't participate in anything. Then did you come back in like half season on the National Hockey League that year?
Well, that would have been my 18-year-old year. So the next year I went back to Kamloops and played, and then I came back and played for half a year. Yeah, so 91, 92 was my first half year. I played roughly about 18 games.
Okay.
I went to World Juniors and then came back to Kamloops.
Okay, good.
And then, 92, 93.
So then you came in the following season and played the full season?
Yeah, 92, 93.
Right. And they went to the finals what year? Was that 92?
93.
Is that the year?
92, 93.
Oh, so that first full year was the year they went to the finals.
Yeah, it's going to happen every year, isn't it?
We went to semifinals my first year. Yeah, that's what he felt like too.
Yeah, he took a spot from a guy who was holding him back, I think.
Yeah, I was holding the team back. Yeah, you can't.
Yeah, we lost to Montreal, and then we didn't make the playoffs for 5 years after.
Oh, is that right? I didn't realize that. Wow.
Yeah.
So that was the year you went to the finals, and Marty McSorley gets the illegal stick. What's the feeling in the locker room like when Marty does that?
Well, there was a lot of frustration, obviously, from some of the big boys. And frustration from everybody. Nobody was happy about it, and kind of disbelief that it just happened like that, and guys weren't more cautious, I guess.
Right.
Because I think every team had situations like that. I mean, Paul Coffey had 3 or 4 sticks. He had a power play stick, an even strength stick, a penalty kill stick. Right. And so it just it was unfortunate, but it was obviously a big moment.
Yeah. What game was that of the finals?
That would have been game 2.
That's right.
So game 2, we were up, and we could have been going home for up 2-0.
That's right. Yeah. Just a setting too. Marty McSorley was. I mean, he fought for everybody. So you got to give him. Like Marty was a guy that if something had to happen on the ice, you didn't have to tell him what to do. He went out and made sure he took care of everybody. So he, one side people go, well, Marty. I guess he got a little bit of leeway there, and it's also the thing in a place like Montreal, the trainers for the other team were coming over measuring the sticks probably too, right?
Yeah, that's kind of what happened is, measuring the sticks when we weren't there or you put your stick on that little rocker thing, that little stick rack, and you wheel it around the rink. Well, now it's exposed, right? So, players know, players got good eyes on what curves are big and stuff like that. So,
yeah, you can tell when the guy's got an illegal curve, but then you got to get it verified, right?
Yeah.
I remember that too. And that was when who scored the goal in that?
Desjardins.
Desjardins. Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
Good. That year we lost. I think we lost the next few games except for the final in overtime.
Right.
Montreal went on to win, I think, 9 overtimes that play.
That's right.
Yeah, Leclerc scored a ton of goals, right?
Leclerc was hot in the overtime.
Right. So that's the first year you go to the finals, don't make the playoffs for the next 5 years. How many years did you stay in LA?
I got traded in 95, 96 to Dallas.
Oh, you did? Okay.
I was there for about, I played about 5 seasons there.
Right.
In LA. And then, then I got traded. Right. Just young.
Right.
Just got married.
Oh.
So it's like, it's your first trade.
Sure. Yeah.
What's going to happen? And, you have traded to Dallas. So you start, actually, we had a morning skate that day, and I heard rumor And I remember Kelly Rudy coming up to me and saying, "Hey, don't let them break you. You know, just get dressed, be a professional, get on the ice." And so I went through my morning routine, got dressed, and went on the ice. I did about one lap, and then they sent the trainer out to get me.
Oh. And what would Kelly mean? Why would Kelly say don't let them break you? Is something going on at that time, or?
Just, I think just mentally, like just be strong.
Okay.
Don't let this kind of affect you and worry you, type thing.
Right.
Yeah, he was good for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Kelly's a really professional, like good guy, good team player. Yeah.
Darryl, what's that like though? Because for fans, they're listening. Like, we don't get traded. So someone tells you, okay, you're moving, deal with it. Like, how do you feel mentally? What does that do to you?
Well, at the time, I mean, obviously I'm playing with, Rob Blake and Alex Zhitnik, and these guys, we ate pregame together all the time. My wife cooked. So it was a game day. Everybody's coming over for pregame meal. I ended up getting traded on the morning skate. Everybody still came over. And then it's just like a whirlwind. Yeah. Okay, I'm getting traded. I got to pack up what I need. Can't pack everything. Mm-hmm. And then it's wide open thinking of a whole bunch of different scenarios. What is Dallas? What's the team like? Just how do I fit in? So it's, your mind's racing all over the place.
Yeah, I've talked about it too. One of the funniest things I think is when other people get traded, you just move on with your business. You have to. You got to get ready for the next game, next practice. But when you get traded, it's like, where's everybody? Everybody's gone. But
you feel alone, right? You feel alone. Like on the plane, you feel small. You feel alone. You're a lot of wonder, right? I'm going to a new team that's been together. Yeah. I got traded for Doug Smolak and Shane Churla.
Oh,
and it's just and I didn't even have time to get to know the guys. I got flown to an afternoon game, so I get to the hotel and it's right to the rink, and then it's like, okay, now what? So you know how it is with nerves and stuff like that.
Yeah, totally.
We just hope for the best and keep it simple.
Yeah, and you're a leader too. And you walk into that locker room, you just can't become a leader right away at a new locker room. They've already got their hierarchy there, and you've got to be careful about stepping on your toes. So
yeah,
definitely. So how many years did you play in Dallas?
I played a total of 9 seasons there.
Right.
I played 6 or 7 in a row, and then I went to Columbus, got traded back. I went to Columbus about 5 months, went to Tampa, then they traded me back to Dallas. And then I went from there, went to Pittsburgh, and then they traded me back again after a year and a half.
That's right. You told me that. That's right. Yeah.
So I went back to Dallas 3 times. I played a total of 9 seasons.
Let's talk about that 99 season, if you don't mind. That was a pretty nice run for you guys.
Yeah. If you think back to the Cup Finals, obviously the first one, being young, just trying to fit in and be in the lineup, really.
Yeah.
In Dallas, we built, Bob Gainey and Hitch, these guys, and Mr. Hicks, the owner, they built the team, and we were part of that team from 95, 95, 96 after myself, and then they acquired Sergei Zubov, and then they acquired Joe Nieuwendyk, and obviously then the last piece was Brett Hall. So, being to that final in 99, and we could never get past Detroit.
Right.
Detroit always got us, and we were able to get back by them finally. But, it's a different sense of not how important it was, but how much you were a part of this winning team.
Sure.
5 years that we went on to win, division titles. But we just couldn't get over that hump. And then to finally win it in 99 and then go back to the final in 2002 with a loss against Jersey.
Okay. Was it when you won? Was it Arnott scored the winning goal? Was that the winning goal that he scored?
Arnott scored the winning goal in Jersey against us in 2000.
That's what it was. Okay.
Brett Hall scored the game winner. Yeah. We had James Patrick on recently, and he said they knew right away it was a goal.
Yeah. Holly scored that goal. I think it's very talented goal. A lot of hand-eye there,
Yeah, he was good.
So, what's the feeling after that? I mean, you guys there's probably nothing like it, right? Because Tom's never won a Stanley Cup.
Yeah, there is nothing like it. I mean, you go through the regular season, but the playoffs are so grueling.
Yeah.
And I remember we had guys, I think we had 6 or 7 guys that lined up outside the doctor's door, to get that, back then it was just boom, get a shot,
Right.
get you through, whether it was torn ligaments, whether it was a knee, whether it was a shoulder, so you go through a lot, but I think you saw it all. If you look at the facial expressions of Mike McDowell, being there for so many years and being obviously a face of the franchise, for him to finally, his caliber of player, to win a championship, it's exhilarating.
Yeah. So for people that don't know, they do it sometimes in the regular season, but especially in the playoffs, the guys get hurt. They get hurt pretty bad. Broken bones, Patrice Bergeron at Boston, some of the injuries she's played with, and they end up freezing it. So the injury is still there. You just don't feel the pain. So the pain's still happening. They've numbed it. So you play. So guys go through a lot. It's kind of the culture of the game, right? That's a badge of honor. Like you always, I know you don't want to get hurt, but that's part of the process of winning the Stanley Cup. You want to go through that.
Yeah, and you put your body on the line.
Yeah.
We had guys with torn ligaments in their hand, broken fingers. We had knee. We had one guy with a really bad ankle. But you want to be part of it. You go to war. You've gone to war with these guys all year, and now you have an opportunity. And not even that, but even the playoffs that we played, and even that game, I think that game finished at like 1 a.m. or something, like 3 overtimes. I mean, guys were getting IVs in between intermission, because you can't keep your fluids up. So a lot goes in behind the scenes. That's why it's the hardest trophy to win, I believe.
Yeah, totally. So how are you feeling at the time? You get traded away, they bring you back. 3 times you got through that. What were you thinking? Like, do you want me or not?
Well, yeah. I mean, like I said, the first trade was, you don't know.
Right.
And then, I got the movement of myself was more at the end of my career.
Right.
So I knew my role. My role was to, be solid, be a leader. At the beginning, I was just going about my business and being a player. But when you're in a locker room with guys such as, at the start with Charlie Huddy and Yeri Curry and Wayne and
Tom Laidlaw.
Tommy Laidlaw and Larry Rock. Like, you see how they go about their day. And then you go to Dallas and you got Craig Ludwig and Guy Carbonneau and Mike Keane and Brian Scrudlin. Like, I mean, oh my gosh. Like, so I each day was like a school day for me, just to learn from these guys.
Sure.
And so then now these guys gave me so much. When I go to Columbus to a younger team, I was not that caliber, but I was brought there to be a leader and somebody for the younger guys to look at. So I knew my role.
Right.
And even with Tampa and then Pittsburgh also too, Chris Letang's first year.
That's right.
Elkin's first year. I think Sid's, second year, but he had Mark Retke and Gary Roberts, So, but those trades, you kind of have a sense of why you're being traded for and what you're going to do compared to the first one.
Right. So Lukowicz spoke, and we were in town, and he spoke about you standing up, making a speech. Where was that? You guys were playing together. We told that speech.
Yeah, that was in New York, and he says this every time. And I've been one to, I don't speak a lot.
Right.
Like I hate speaking in front of a locker room and stuff like that, because he's right. I do get emotional.
Right.
It's kind of like coming right from my heart, off my sleeve. And sometimes I feel, embarrassed a little bit, but yeah, I spoke in the island, and, we had a good team in Tampa, a lot of young guys. And I think we were just feeling like I felt in LA, where it's going to happen every year.
Right.
And I tried to make them realize that this doesn't happen all the time.
Yeah.
You have to take advantage of it. And we went on to be able to do that.
And you can tell that that meant a lot to him. Like, he really remembered that moment when you got up and spoke. Like, that was a pretty special moment. Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah. And I didn't mean not that I didn't mean it. I just spoke. I didn't know how big it was going to be.
Right.
I just wanted to say my piece, and if my piece is good enough, if it helped one guy,
That's pretty cool.
And then you wind up playing for Torts, right? You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. Torts. A lot of people ask me my favorite coaches. Obviously, Hitch was a great coach, but John Tortorella is right there.
Yeah.
He's probably one of my favorite coaches that I played with. And, you see a lot of the stuff in the media and stuff like that. I was a little bit older. I didn't come in when he came in there and what happened with Vinny Lecabier and Marty. But I really believe, and I think it's maybe changed a little bit, but, he's a straight shooter. He'll tell you how it is, and he'll tell you what's on his mind.
And he'd like a guy like you, too, because you came to play all the time, right?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I guess, we had a good relationship, and that's his thing.
Yeah.
You don't have a factor with him if you just come out and do what you do.
Yeah, totally.
If you do what you do, you're going to be fine with it.
And you do it consistently, too, right? He needs to know that you're not always going to be perfect, but he needs to know that you're going to show up and do your job, and he can worry about other players. And question.
Yeah.
So how many seasons did you get in the NHL?
18.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. If somebody told you you're 8 years old, you're going to play 18 years in the National Hockey League, that'd be pretty cool, right?
I know.
Yeah.
Never would have thought it. Yeah. So I was able to get 18, and when I retired, my wife was saying, like, what do you like? Go for another one. I'm like, my retirement was, I was just kind of done,
Right.
Mentally and physically,
right.
Just putting the time in.
Yeah.
And, you see what the kids were doing now. I was still going 6 days a week training.
Yeah.
But it was getting harder at that age.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So you finished in Dallas or no?
I finished in St. Louis.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Yeah. I went to St. Louis on a PTO and ended up playing there for a year.
Man. So did you know at that point that what you wanted to do after the game? So now the game's over, you played it all your life, no idea what you wanted to do.
No idea.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of had a feeling I would like to get into possibly coaching or working with development in some aspects, because really at the end of my career, I had a lot of younger D-men that I was playing with and helping out, and I liked that.
Yeah.
I was still able to play, but give insight back, and I really thought that what was given to me at a young age with the older guys, it was time for me to give back too.
Sure.
So yeah, retired for about a half an hour and then got offered a coaching job. So
where was your first job?
So Mike Yo, that I was with Pittsburgh, when I was with Pittsburgh, he was a assistant coach there. And we kind of established a little bit of a not friendship, but a relationship, because I was in and out. I was playing, I was in and out. So he was the guy that kind of skated players a lot, the aces and stuff like that. So I guess he saw what I did or how I kind of went about my business with others, and he thought I'd be a good candidate. So Houston Aeros, it was our first team, or my first coaching gig. Minnesota's farm team.
Right. And so how long did you stay there?
We actually were only there a year.
Oh.
We were there a year, and then there were some changes up in Minnesota. Mike got the head job there, and then he brought me up to Minnesota.
Oh, that's right. How were you there a few years, and where?
I think we were in Minnesota for a total of about 6 years.
Oh, okay. Good.
Yeah.
And what after that then?
I was about 6 years there, and then I went down to, after Mike got let go and they changed the staff, I went to Chicago Wolves with Craig Berube.
Oh, wow.
And went there for a year. And then he got the job in St. Louis, so I went up there for a year, and then that's why I called it quits.
Okay. Craig Berube, I like him as a coach, Berube. He's a good coach.
He's old school,
yeah,
but very knowledgeable of the game, and very knowledgeable about adapting to the game and the style of the game. But his roots of what he teaches is still back from what he believes, which is really cool.
Work ethic and everything. So this is a little bit of a touch of your subject, and you've talked about this openly, publicly. You had a drinking problem at some point that you had to get dealt with.
Yeah, no, it's that's a huge thing in my life and my career. I mean, I was never one to drink a lot when I played. I mean, I remember going out to dinner with the players in LA and I'd have a glass of milk. Like I never did. But you know what? It got me probably more the end of my career.
Right.
You know, you asked a question of what I was thinking of doing. I had no idea.
Right.
Maybe a little bit of worry. What are you going to do after hockey? What's life going to bring? And my, I'm not saying comfort, but my fault was I relied on alcohol for that answer,
Right.
or to push those answers aside.
Sure.
And not deal with it. So yeah, I got into trouble with alcohol, DUI, and did my time with that. And it's something that it's every day. You know, it's always on my mind.
Yeah, totally. Well, I told you before the show, and I really mean it too. I really admire you. I know you don't want to go through that, but if you have to go through it, you've dealt with it, right? You got help and you dealt with it. So I think it's a great example for your kids, for other people around, that people have issues, mental health issues, drug addiction, alcohol addiction. You got to do something about it, make yourself better. So I think again, the fact that you talk about it openly or willing to talk about it here, I think is fantastic. So
yeah, and that's the biggest thing is talking about it.
Yeah.
You know, especially the mental health side, and whether it's alcoholism or drug addiction or whatever it is, it's be able to there is somebody there for you if you open up. Speak.
I've learned too that some trauma that may have happened to you when you're younger kind of triggers an addiction like that. Was there something like that for you?
Yeah, for sure. It's it goes back. I did a lot of therapy and a lot of treatment, and your inner child is a huge thing. You can't. There's always something there.
Right.
And it's, the cliche, you got to peel the onion back, right? Layers and layers and layers. It came back to about, I don't know if I want to really get specific on it, but it got back to my youth and around 7 years old.
Right.
Of why I've kind of not been, let's say, vocal when I have issues or vocal when I had situations, and now I am. But why I maybe shut down and would look for another source to change the path of that day.
Sure. Do your kids understand what you've been through and what you've done?
Oh yeah.
Right.
My kids were older. I got pulled over with my son in the car. Not thinking that's what I wanted to do that day.
Right.
But it's so yeah, it's a lot of the family's been to not treatment, but therapy.
Right.
To deal with it. They know my situation, obviously, and they know that one of the illegal, not illegal, but legal drugs in the world is one of the highest rate of addiction.
The alcohol.
Yes.
Right. Is there any history of alcohol problems in your family at all?
You look back, being born in 1972 and being from a Ukrainian Polish family, you can look back as what I know now.
Yeah.
Possibility, but nobody to the extent of getting, help and looking more into it.
Right. Yeah, I look back too, and I just, I'm not going to blame the culture. I love playing national hockey, but that was, especially when I played, that was part of the culture. Now, again, I didn't have to do it just because it's part of the culture, but I remember when I retired from playing, I got in the Asian business, and I was scared to death because I started taking phone calls from clients, and at night I'm thinking I was still having 6, 8, 10 beers, and I wake up in the morning thinking, geez, was I stuttering? Was I slurring my words? Can I remember the conversations? And I was scared. I was like, there's a history of alcoholism, I think, in my family. And I quit for 5 years, and it was the weirdest thing. And I've said this before. My biggest concern was like, what are people going to think of me if I'm not drinking beer? Like, what? It's stupid, right? It's like, again,
exactly. It's and it's the, I don't know, from the athlete that we feel that we are bigger than normal,
right.
And it can't happen to us. And what will people think if I'm an athlete and I have to, acknowledge that I'm an alcoholic?
Was that one of the biggest issues for you when you had to acknowledge that what people were thinking?
Probably one of the scariest things is obviously when, I got my DUI and pulled over and went to treatment. The cops, they knew who I was, but then it was on, ESPN and all that. So it was publicized. My biggest, the most scared I guess I was after treatment, coming out and going back into the real world, because it's not controlled like it was when you're in treatment.
Right.
And, going into somewhere where people know you, how do they look at you?
Yeah.
the eyes are going to be on you.
Yeah.
What are they thinking? But that's something that I've learned, that I have no control what they think.
100%. And like I said, the reality is, I think most people, the hockey world would look at you as you're an idol kind of. You went through something and you dealt with it. You didn't just try to hide it. You didn't go do it again. You didn't blame anybody else. You did it and you got help with it. So I think people admire you for the way you handle it. So
yeah, it's been a long road, but as of today, I'm feeling strong and feeling good, and hopefully I've helped one person throughout.
Yeah, definitely. So what are you doing now then? You're working with the Kamloops Minor Hockey Association?
Yeah, so director of development for coaching and player development for Kamloops Minor Hockey here. And then also doing some stuff with an agency out of Edmonton, just some draft prospect eligible players.
Cool.
Watching video, doing some Zoom. And, it's one thing for these players they're going through a lot. And there's a lot of not heat, but, do they talk to their parents, or it's something that, they're able to talk to me. And we kind of, as D-men, it's mostly D-men. It's, you kind of talk the same language.
Sure.
When you're looking at video and stuff like that. And it's quite fun.
Yeah.
And I get to be home and do it and not have to travel.
Good. What's the future hold for you? Is there anything else you want to do?
Who knows? Every day's a new thing. But, it's like, my wife said, like, that weekend in Dallas, if I'm not sober and I'm not in recovery, it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And we had a blast, and good things are happening when you do it the right way. And like retired but busier than heck.
Yeah. You want to stay that way, right? Yeah. You don't want to retire and sit around and do nothing. That's I joke around. I said, I'm not going to go to the golf course and pull my pants up to my nipples and walk around like some.
Yeah. No, it's good. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Let me ask you, it's kind of a touchy question. I ask a lot of guys this that have been through stuff like, do you love yourself now?
Now I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now I do. Before I didn't.
Yeah. That's part of the process, right? Yeah.
Yeah. It's part of the process. And I think, one of the things is I still have those days though, when I look back and think, man, wasn't I an idiot? Like, why did I do that?
I know.
But then I look on the other side of it and said, you know what? Proud of myself for getting through it and putting the work in.
Yeah.
That's like, one question I had for a therapist once is like, how come I can't, get this? How come I can't, just, I had so much willpower when I was a hockey player to, go through hard practices and take those hits and stuff like that. And how come, like, I should be able to just say, no, I'm not drinking. Right. And she's like, do you know the difference between willingness and willpower? And I said, no, I don't. And she's like, willingness is asking for help and being vulnerable to be able to open up. And that's what you need, is willingness, not willpower, because willpower gets you into trouble in some instances.
So did you have willingness at that point then when you were asking that question? Or you learned how?
I was still in like kind of the why am I here? How come this is happening to me type of thing?
Right.
When you're, the old athlete, like I've done so much, how can I break?
Right.
But now, probably one of my biggest, or I believe is my vulnerability.
Yeah.
To be able to open up and talk about it and go out to a restaurant with, buddies or whatever, and, not have a drink, have a Coke, they're having beers, or even on the golf course,
right.
And just be me.
Do you think it's changed your relationship with your kids and your wife too, that you're willing to be that vulnerable person now?
Well, there's a lot of times that they say, I haven't seen Dad like this,
Yeah.
like the smiling and, laughing or something,
Yeah.
But because before I was so focused on one thing, and that was just, providing and the game of hockey.
Yeah.
That
is the thing, and I've talked to a few guys about this, and I believe this too, that we, as much as it's fantastic playing in the National Hockey League, being an athlete and all the great things that comes with it, how hard you had to work to get there, in some ways it kind of screws up part of your life, right? Because now we play until our, in our 30s or whatever, and all these other people now have started, they've got out of college, they got married, had kids, and now they're in the real world. But we're not in the real world. We're in this phony world, but we don't know we're in this phony world, right? Until now the game ends, and we realize, oh, geez, I need to get started in real life, right? It's and again, it's not whining and complaining. It was fantastic. I'd do it all over again. I'm sure you would too. But yeah, we don't have the normal life that everybody else does. Yeah,
and the kids never either. We have 4 boys, and I'd get traded, they'd move there too, like a lot of different schools, The good thing is when I got traded, they were just starting preschool and stuff like that in kindergarten. But once you get into Minnesota, we stayed there until our twins graduated because it was big. But, and little things like they've missed out on is traveling.
Yeah.
I travel all the time,
Sure.
To wherever.
Yeah.
But, the summer came along and it's like, I don't want to travel anymore.
Yeah.
Well, they miss out on that kind of stuff, they hear of their friends and stuff like that. So there's a lot of, different things that great for me, but not for us.
Yeah. That was the world.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this is Sid. Thank you very much. Again, we did not get to play together that much, but we didn't get to know each other that much either. But I've seen you from afar. And again, the things that people say about you, you should be very proud about that's the way people look at you. And again, like I said, I know you went through a tough time with drinking, but to recover from it the way you did, really put your heart and soul in that for yourself, for your family, everybody else. You're doing some great things. So great job.
Thank you for having me on, guys.
My
Thanks,
pleasure.
Darryl.
Great to have you on, Darryl. Talk to you soon.
See you guys.
See you, bud.
Bye.
That was a cool interview with the guy who stole your job in LA, man. But
yeah, the great Darryl Sydor. And again, when we were at the alumni weekend in Dallas, some of the guys talking about him and the reputation he built. I should be very proud. He's kind of a quiet guy, but apparently when he gets up in the locker room, speaks.
Very impactful. Yeah, and that was really powerful for us to hear because he struggled and he was open and honest, and that was a very deep conversation.
Yeah, I love that. Like I told him too, he should be very proud of himself. He fought through the alcohol problem and really didn't have much of a choice. But some guys still fight it, and he just he wanted. You can tell he wanted to learn how am I going to get out of this.
And he got help. And hopefully, if anybody listening to this is in a similar situation, get help. People out there can definitely help you.
Yeah, that was a very impactful show.
Yep, great show.
All right, Grasshoppers, thank you for listening. We had a fantastic show. We'll see you next time. If you like the Full Change podcast, please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts.